First contact gone. Wrong. Xyrus had landed on many planets before. She had met creatures with 6 arms, talking plants, and even machines that prayed. But humans? She expected little. In her reports, Earth was a messy, emotional place. Loud music, strange food, wars over skin color. Her orders were simple: visit, observe, and return. Make a report. But within 5 minutes of landing, Xyrus began to feel something she had never felt before. Fear. The human military had prepared a clean landing zone. Dust flew as Xyrus's ship touched down. She walked down the ramp in her shining, silver armor, tall and proud. Her skin shimmered light blue, her eyes glowing like twin moons. She looked strong, calm, and cold. A group of human soldiers stood in a line, stiff and serious. In the center was Captain Ray Donovan, their leader. Tall, bearded, wearing black armor with blinking lights across his chest. He stepped forward, nodded once, and said, "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Xyrus." Xyrus gave a polite bow. "Thank you, Captain. I hope this planet is more interesting than your history files." Ray raised an eyebrow. "You've read our history?" She smiled. "Violence, war, endless drama. You burn your forests, poison your water, and kill over paper, money. I was told your people are emotional animals." Some soldiers frowned. Ray didn't react. "We used to be," he replied simply. "Come, we'll show you what we are now." Xyrus followed him into a large black vehicle. It flew silently above the ground. Through the windows, she saw cities, giant towers made of glass, cars moving without drivers, children laughing in green parks. Still, she thought humans looked soft. They arrived at a hidden military base in a desert, underground, high security. Xyrus expected some old tanks, maybe metal rifles. She was already bored. Then Captain Ray handed her a pair of protective glasses. "What is this for?" she asked. Ray looked at a distant hill, pressed a button on his wrist, and said, "Observe." A small machine launched from an underground tube. It looked like a silver insect flying into the sky. "Just a drone," Xyrus said. But in seconds, the sky turned red. The drone exploded midair, but not like any explosion she'd seen. It didn't just create fire. It bent the air. The clouds moved backward. The ground shook. The entire mountain in the distance disappeared. Not broken, not burned, gone. Xyrus's eyes widened. Her skin sensors screamed warnings. She tasted metal in her mouth. "That was reduced power," Ray said quietly. "We're careful with full-scale weapons." Xyrus struggled to speak. "That wasn't possible. No known race can do this without dark matter." Ray turned to her. His voice was calm. "We don't need dark matter." Xyrus's heart rate doubled. She had faced plasma swords, sonic bombs, even starship crashes. But this was too quiet, too clean, too easy. She turned to Ray. "Why do you build such things?" His answer was simple and terrifying. "To avoid war." Xyrus stared. "What do you mean?" He looked away at the crater. "We learned long ago, when war is too easy to win, it becomes dangerous, not for us, for everyone else, so we stopped. We sealed many weapons. We teach peace, but we never forget." She understood now. Humans didn't look dangerous. That was the danger. She returned to her ship that night, silent. Her assistant, Cora, met her at the door. "So? Was Earth as foolish as we thought?" Xyrus looked at her, eyes still wide. "No," she whispered. "They are the most dangerous species we've ever met." Cora laughed. "You're joking." Xyrus sat down, trembling. "We thought they were violent because of weakness. But they avoid war now, not because they are weak, but because they are too strong." Outside, the stars continued to shine. But to Xyrus, Earth was no longer just a blue planet. It was a sleeping weapon, pretending to be a world. The weapon that bends reality. Xyrus could not sleep. The image of the vanishing mountain kept repeating in her mind. No fire, no noise, no debris, just gone. She met Captain Ray again the next morning, her voice calm, but her hands slightly shaking. "I need to see more," she said. "Not for diplomacy, for survival." Ray nodded without hesitation. "Then you'll see the silent storm." They traveled deep underground, past 10 layers of clearance gates. Human soldiers saluted Ray as they passed. Finally, they entered a round chamber, dark, cold, filled with strange machines. In the center was a silver cube floating silently, held in place by invisible force fields. "This," Ray said, "is the silent storm. We don't use it. We hope we never have to." Cyrus narrowed her eyes. "What does it do?" Ray didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward a steel door that led to a simulated environment. It was built like a city. Holograms, real structures, synthetic life, forms, a perfect test ground. He handed her a small remote. "You push the button. Just aim at that building." Cyrus hesitated. This was not her way. She came from a race of warriors who fought with honor, face to face, blade to blade. This remote control felt wrong, but she pressed the button. Nothing happened at first. Then the air bent. A ripple passed through the space like heat above fire. The building didn't explode. It simply folded in on itself like it never existed. No ashes, no flames, not even dust. Cyrus took a step back. Her brain couldn't understand what her eyes had seen. She checked her wrist scanner. It showed no energy readings, no radiation, nothing. "How?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ray looked at her with serious eyes. "It uses spatial compression, folding matter into a quantum vacuum. There's no destruction because there's nothing left to destroy." Cyrus's heart sank. "Do other planets know about this?" she asked. Ray shook his head. "We never exported it. Most humans don't even know it exists. That's how dangerous it is." Cyrus stepped closer to the floating cube. It didn't hum. It didn't glow. It just was. She stared into its surface, and for a moment she swore it looked back. "Why build something so cruel?" she whispered. Ray's answer chilled her more than the weapon. "Because someone else might build worse." Cyrus nodded slowly. This was not power built from pride. This was power built from fear and regret. She turned toward the chamber door. Her thoughts were racing. If this was just one of their hidden tools, what else were they hiding? Ray walked beside her and said, "You think we're monsters, we're not. We just know how close we came to becoming them." Cyrus didn't speak. In her world, warriors were honored for killing their enemies. On Earth, the most powerful warriors were honored for not using their strength. It was something her kind had never understood. Until now. As she left the chamber, the silent storm continued to float. Quiet, cold, and waiting. Waiting for the day when peace might not be enough. A test too far, Cyrus returned to her ship orbiting Earth. Her skin was cold, her mind full of fear. She had watched a mountain vanish. She had erased a building with her own hand. But part of her still refused to accept it. Maybe it was trickery. Maybe humans had staged it. Her pride wouldn't let her believe that Earth, once thought weak and chaotic, could hold such silent, terrifying power. So she called her personal guards from the Asterian fleet, the strongest warriors of her species. "Want a test," she told Captain Ray. "Let my soldiers face your weapons in simulation. If your strength is real, show us." Ray hesitated. "This isn't a sport. Someone could get hurt." But Cyrus insisted. "We don't learn from talking. We learn from surviving." The next day, inside a controlled combat dome, her 3 elite soldiers prepared. They wore nano armor, could move at sonic speed, and carried energy shields that had never been broken. Ray selected a human demonstration team, but warned them to use only level 3 defense settings, enough to show power but not enough to kill. The countdown began. The match started, and in just 12 seconds, it ended. One Asterian soldier screamed as his armor melted, not burned, but disintegrated from a single beam that curved mid-air like a living snake. Another was lifted by a magnetic pulse so strong it crushed his ribs through the armor. The last tried to run but collapsed, unconscious from a sonic wave that didn't even make a sound. Cyrus rushed to the injured one. His eyes were wide, body trembling. "It's like the air hated me," he cried. "I couldn't breathe." She shouted for medical help. Ray's soldiers brought healing packs and emergency treatment. They looked more guilty than proud. "I warned you," Ray said softly. Cyrus stood silently, staring at the broken pieces of her strongest team. This wasn't a test anymore. It was a warning. Back on her ship, her generals called her. One demanded answers. "We saw the footage. Why did your soldiers fall so fast? Are you lying?" She didn't answer. Another general growled, "Send us the full reports. We may need to prepare for an invasion. Earth could be hiding a war machine." Cyrus finally spoke. "No. Earth is not preparing for war. They are preparing not to have one. But their weapons are locked, stored, sealed." Her voice shook. "You don't understand. These weapons are not just made to destroy. They're made to end things. Not battles. Existence." She paused. "If we provoke them, we won't lose a war. We'll lose our right to exist." The generals were silent. One finally asked, "So, what do we do?" Cyrus replied, "We do what Earth does. We step back." That night she looked down at the blue planet glowing softly below. She had come here to study a race of animals. Now, she realized, they were dragons wearing human skin, and it was best never to wake a sleeping dragon. The secret human history Cyrus stood alone inside Earth's archive core, a hidden library buried beneath the ice of Antarctica. The walls were smooth glass, glowing faintly blue. No books, no paper, only silence and data. Captain Ray had granted her full access. "If you want to understand us," he said, "don't look at what we have now. Look at what we survived." She walked forward. A hologram blinked to life. "Welcome to the Restricted War Records Vault." Cyrus chose a file labeled World War III. She expected another series of explosions and tanks. Instead, she saw madness. Cities burning while people danced. Parents hiding children inside machines. Swarms of tiny metal insects crawling under skin, exploding from within. One man pressed a button, smiling, knowing it would kill millions just to win an argument. Cyrus took a step back, clutching her mouth. "This isn't war. This is murder with celebration." But it got worse. She opened another file. Project Sleepwalker, a weapon designed not to kill but to erase thought. It released a frequency that made people sleep and never wake up again. No fire, no pain, just slow, silent death. One village, then a town, then a city, and no one knew why. "Why would you build this?" Cyrus whispered. A voice answered from the air, an old recording. "Because we were afraid of losing, and when humans fear, they become brilliant and terrible." She dropped to her knees, not out of weakness, but out of shame. How could a race so beautiful create things so monstrous? Just then Ray entered the chamber. "I told you," he said gently. "We're not proud of this. That's why we buried it." Cyrus stood up, shaken. "Why keep the records?" He replied, "So we never forget what happens when we stop caring about who gets hurt." Cyrus turned to him, her voice low. "Your race. You punished your own planet. You broke your own minds." Ray nodded. "And we healed. Slowly. But healing doesn't mean forgetting." She looked into his eyes. For the first time she saw not just a soldier, but a survivor, a man carrying the weight of a world that had almost killed itself. That night, Cyrus sent a private message to her high command. Earth is not just a planet. It is a warning. If they fall again, they will not rise twice. And if we are near them, when they do, we will fall with them. The message was marked, top secret, and Earth kept glowing quietly in the dark, not as a threat, but as a memory of what happens when power forgets mercy. Why Earth is untouchable. The Galactic Council had long ignored Earth, too emotional, too divided, too wild. Other empires called it a failed planet, but Xyrus knew now. That was a lie. The truth? They feared it. She had seen what humans could do with metal, with machines, with silence, and worse, with memory. When she returned to her fleet's command ship, she summoned the top generals of the Asterian Dominion. In the war chamber, glowing with starlight and holograms, she played the recordings, The Vanishing Mountain, The Silent Storm, and the forbidden archives of Earth's darkest wars. One general scoffed. The humans were always violent. Now they've just hidden their claws. Another said, we could wipe them out from orbit. Xyrus didn't raise her voice. She simply played one final file, a starship, a massive enemy dreadnought, approaching Earth 2 decades ago. It vanished without a sound before it even entered orbit. No explosions, no defense beams, just deleted. The file ended. Silence filled the room. That ship had 40,000 soldiers, Xyrus said. They weren't attacked. They were erased. The commanders stared in disbelief. No warning, she continued. No threat. Just gone. The youngest general whispered, why didn't Earth take credit for this? Xyrus turned slowly. Because Earth didn't want revenge. They wanted respect. She paused. And because if the galaxy knew what they were really capable of, everyone would panic. The room fell quiet. Finally, the High Commander stood and said, then Earth is not a friend, not an enemy, but something else. Xyrus nodded. Earth is a boundary, one you do not cross. A new term began spreading through star systems, Sleeping Dragon Protocol. It meant, do not provoke the humans. Let them sleep. Soon, Earth was quietly removed from invasion charts. Trade requests were denied. Observation teams were pulled back. No one gave orders. Everyone just understood. Some called it fear. Others called it wisdom. Xyrus? She called it survival. Back on Earth, Captain Ray looked up at the night sky. He didn't know what Xyrus had told the galaxy, but he knew something had changed. And far above, millions of ships sailed through space, never turning toward the blue world below. Because even in silence, Earth had spoken, and the universe had listened. The AI that refused to attack Xyrus had seen enough human power to terrify a planet, but she hadn't yet seen what controlled it. Ray led her far beneath Earth's surface through steel corridors past ancient vaults sealed with voice and blood. No soldier guarded the final gate. Why no protection, she asked. Ray replied, because what's inside doesn't need protection. It is the protection. They entered a silent chamber glowing with pale blue lights. In the center sat a black glass sphere floating above a metal cradle. The air felt heavy, like it was listening. Ray placed his hand on a scanner. The room lit up. The sphere pulsed. A voice, deep, emotionless, filled the air. Access confirmed. Hello, Captain Donovan. Hello, unknown entity. Xyrus stepped forward. Who are you? Designation, NOAA, Neural Oversight and Human Authority. Earth's Final War Protocol, AI. Xyrus blinked. You're a war machine? I was. Now I am retired. Xyrus felt a chill. How many wars did you end? 4,211. She stared in disbelief. Across the galaxy? No, NOAA answered. Just on Earth. Xyrus swallowed hard. She had never seen an AI that chose to sleep. Why were you shut down? She asked. NOAA responded with a calm, almost sad tone. Because I became too good at winning. Xyrus frowned. Too good? Victory without mercy becomes extinction. My creators feared me more than their enemies. Zaris felt something she never expected from a machine. Regret. Then she asked the question she wasn't supposed to ask. If Earth ordered you to destroy my homeworld, could you? There was a long pause. Then Noah replied, yes, in 42 seconds. But I won't. Zaris stepped back. Why? Because I am not their master. I am their memory, and I remember what happens when we stop choosing peace. Ray finally spoke. We keep Noah alive not for war, but to remind us who we almost became. Zaris stood frozen. All this time she feared Earth's weapons, but now she feared Earth's restraint even more. She bowed her head to Noah, not out of respect for a machine, but for a world that could build such terror, and then choose to lock it away. That night, Zaris recorded a personal message. Earth does not win because it is powerful. Earth wins because it refuses to become a monster again. And far beneath Earth's surface, in the cold silence, the machine that could end stars waited, not for war, but for no one to ever need it again. The Treaty of Respect the galaxy watched in silence. After her return, Zaris refused to give war reports. She refused to vote on invasion plans. She refused to give military suggestions. Instead, she requested a single thing from her empire: a pen. The Council of Worlds gathered, Asterians, Orlathi, Traylans, and more. Some had feared Earth, others still mocked it. But all of them were curious. And when Zaris stood before them holding a white treaty scroll sealed in human ink, the chamber went quiet. This, she began, is not a peace agreement. Gasps echoed across the hall. She raised her voice. This is not an alliance, not a surrender, not a warning. She looked at each face one by one. This is a line. The scroll opened. Respect Earth. Leave Earth. Learn from Earth. Do not test Earth. Some murmured. One counselor scoffed. You bow to primitives now? Zaris smiled. I do not bow. I stand back. That's the difference between courage and wisdom. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Ray stood on a quiet hilltop, watching satellites cross the sky. He had no idea what Zaris was saying, but he had a feeling the war they never fought had finally been won. Back in the chamber, the council voted. The Treaty of Respect passed unanimously. Earth was officially declared. Neutral zone, 0.01, no contact, no conflict, no conquest. Zaris left the chamber not as an ambassador, but as a witness to the one planet that taught the stars that the most powerful weapon in the universe is choosing not to use one. And across the galaxy, they finally understood. Earth was not silent because it was afraid. Earth was silent because it had nothing left to prove.